What's up, guys? Welcome today with some bounty content. Nico and I, the head coach of the bounty course, are going to review a $500 PKO tournament. We're going through the early stages of the tournament and teach you how you need to apply the concepts that we teach in the bounty course for bounty tournaments. And we show you how you can do some easy math in game in order to consider the value of the bounty. Also, we're running a sale, so if you're not interested in that, you just want to jump right into the content, just skip ahead the next 1 or 2 minutes. But for those of you who are interested, $500 off currently for the bounty course. We initially wanted to do this video a little earlier, but Nico was ill, so we need to postpone it. So this might be already really the last days. Maybe we extend it for a day or two only for our YouTube community, because again, we wanted to release this video much earlier to make you aware of the sale, but we couldn't do it. So yeah, maybe we extend it for a couple more days longer. So if you're interested, I also want to give you some sneak peeks into the course, so you get a better idea. I mean, there's a lot of information that you also will find on our website, and we put everything in the description. But I think one of the most powerful tools of this course is that you get access to a lot of different scenarios with preflop ranges. I mean, in bounties, you will have scenarios where you have no clue, right? You cover someone, he goes all in, you know what you would roughly call in a freeze-out tournament, but now there's a bounty in play. They jam 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, 15 big blinds. They have one starting stakes, one starting bounty, two starting bounties, 2.5, or you being covered. And you see that you will have here a lot of different scenarios. So you can practice a little bit here with hijack 6 big blinds. When we cover, or the big blind covers us, we have 40 big blinds. Nico went through a lot of different scenarios, also with certain stacks behind that can overcall and how it impacts our range. So you have a very great way of studying here, rejamming when we are covered, when covered by late position. A lot of, no, don't want to remove that. A lot of different ranges here, which is incredibly helpful for getting a good understanding. You will also learn the BPWR concept, which is the bounty power concept, which is an incredible simplification to learn the impact. You will see us doing this in the review as well, where Nico shows you, all right, in this spot, we need 40% equity, but given that the bounty is in play, we need to reduce it by 5%, so we only need 35%. It's really good for the self-confidence to understand how a bounty will impact our ranges, and you will be way better prepared, will have a higher level of confidence going into these tournaments. Also, 3 betting ranges for these kind of scenarios when the 20 big blind stacks open, from the big blind, from the small blind, for the button. So again, a bunch of different scenarios which are very, very helpful. Not going to go too deep here, of course. You will also see already a lot in the review. If you're not interested, you don't have the money, totally fine, it's cool. Check out the video. We already share a lot in there. We go through a bunch of pre-flop spots, post-flop spots. So I think this will already be very helpful for improving your bounty play as well. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. Let's dive right into it. And I almost forgot, we also released a free course, a 5-day, put everything in the description, where I teach for beginners, still some advanced concepts, but in a simplified way that are very helpful for low stakes, pre-flop, post-flop, some concepts, ICM, bankroll management. So if you don't really know where to study and you don't want to spend money yet, 5 days for free, you get access to videos. We take you by the side, or I take you on the hands, like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you can study poker. These are the first concepts you should learn. Entirely for free, no hidden fees or anything. I was very excited about this project because I got a lot of questions. Hey Ben, where can I study this? Where should I start? And I got tired of then elaborating and not really have anything that's structured for people that are not ready, or just want to check out first to see how if poker is something for them, or poker studying in general. So I literally take them by the hands, like, here, you can start here, take it slow. You got 5 days, you got 5 videos. And yeah, I teach you a lot of the concepts in there already. Yeah, entirely for free. We put everything in the description as well. Go check it out. And now, time to jump into the content. Don't want to waste too much of your time anymore. So let's go. Here we go. Let's go hand review with Nico. Thanks for taking the time. Are you ready, my friend, to deliver
I'm ready.
some bounty value? All right.
So ready. 100% ready.
Let's do this. $500 tournament, PKO. very good tournament in my opinion. Of course, quite tough. First hand, Jack 9 off. Not only going to be covering lots of bounty spots today, or bounty relevant spots. I mean, a lot of the spots are going to be played similar in the freeze out tournament. So we're also going to touch base on some freeze out, normal, regular poker tournament content or topics, so that you have a good mix between freeze out and bounty spots today. But of course, we try to focus on bounty spots or bounty relevant content as much as possible. Jack 9 off, first hand, I think can be raise, limp is fine. My general approach in these spots is to be, especially that deep, that I will raise also a lot of Jack 10 suited, Queen Jack suited, which can also call it 3-bet. Or 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited. We're very, very deep in position, 124, 5 big blinds. So I'm trying to, not raise something like King 4 suited and then facing a 3-bet, and then I don't know what to do. Jack 9 off, probably more often a check behind, and then some raising like a lot of very trashy hands. So your thoughts on that? Anything?
Yeah, I think it's a standard check. Raising weaker hands and like those in between hands very often check back.
Yeah. Also, if you own paired, you always have the option to check right here. I'm just gonna add another tab, so you get the chance to immediately see here what you would raise facing a limp, and we can take 60 big blinds. It's very similar, and you see it's a very polarized strategy. So the middle part really wants to be checking. We see Jack 9 off checking. So if it shows 20% raising for Jack 9 off, I would be raising it, checking it 100% of the time. I would simplify, would focus more on the heuristic. So we see like 9-4 off, 10-4 off, Jack 4 off, basically like a very trashy range that we're raising. And then we see Jack 10, Queen Jack, Queen 10 suited, 10 9 suited. These hands want to be raising very, very often. All right, so 8-4-3, he checks. Do you think he should be checking a lot here? Should he be betting a lot on this board? And what would be your strategy here for me in position? I mean, it's a relatively small pot, it's not a big pot, so don't need to get too in deep, but what would be your tips for playing these spots in general?
Well, it's a 3-4 board, so big blind has a lot of those.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think small blind should be checking quite often. And so we just bet on this kind of structure, I guess, like 50-55% of the times, and then half pot-ish, and I would definitely take this combo in. So I would bet.
Yeah, I also thought the same. You just have to imagine you as the big blind, right? You have a lot of these 8-4 offs, which he's not supposed, or 8-3 off, which he's not supposed to limp. He's also probably going to be raising some 8-4, 8-3 suited, which we are checking back way more often. So we do have way more 2-pair and 1-pair hands. Even King 4 or Queen 4 suited are very strong on this board. And he's going to have missed a lot of the time, so do we. But again, we connect very well around the 4-3. Even something like 5 deuce off is a pretty strong hand. And so a lot of these very, very trashy hands that he doesn't even limp in the first place do connect much better with our range. And yeah, I thought I definitely want to also have some larger sizings around half pot, 2/3 pot. It's potato. So I decided to size up a little bit more. He calls, and yeah, I mean, the turn is pretty good. Scare card gives us equity. We could stab like 10-5, right? If we have 10-5 clubs, 10-5 off, 10 in spades. So we're also going to have a bit more. As you can see, I stab Jack 9 off. If I have Jack 10 off, backdoor flush, I would also be stabbing sometimes. He's still going to have Ace 10, King 10, surely. But yeah, we also going to have, and then we can still bet any 8. Basically, Ace 8, King 8, Queen 8, even Jack 8 can still go 3 streets for value here. So decided to continue betting. River is the 4 in diamonds. Not the best card for us. He's going to be calling any 4 on the turn, I would presume. And therefore, he will have way more 4x. Might be interesting if he wants to have some small leads here, because we're going to be checking back now on 8 quite often on this river. Unless we presume he's going to be calling any 3. But I also think some 3x going to fold the turn. I think if he has something like Jack 4 with an overcard to the 10, we're still going to have 5 deuce, 5 6, 6 7. We're still going to have a bunch of draws. So I would assume most people call a 4 once more. Yeah, having the spades, blocking like queen nine spades, jack nine spades, king nine spades. Still, it's just a nine high spade. If I have the jack high spade, I would definitely check back. I don't even really remember what I was doing.
I would,
Yeah.
I would. First of all, I think I would bet the turn a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Most likely, so I would go close to pot, I guess.
Yeah.
And then on the river, when he
It's
checks,
greedy,
people.
greedy bencb, going for cheap bluffs.
Yeah.
I mean, my goal is like I think that's where people are very indifferent in their calling ranges. Like
Yeah.
he's folding ace highs. If he has ace deuce, ace five, he's very often just still gonna call, also against pot. I just want to make him fold king five off, king in spades, ace six, ace seven, ace nine, all these kind of hands. If he floated like maybe also with the jack high hand on the flop, like jack seven clubs that we could fold out. And I think against that sizing, he's very likely going to fold most of those hands anyway. But yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
see your point. I don't hate betting pot here either.
And on the river, I would say population is very often like not very balanced in their check call, check
True.
node.
True.
So when they check the river, they're usually full of crap, and I would definitely continue bluffing here. I mean,
Okay.
obviously you can have trips, but besides of like a turn 10, I guess like most of the hands will fold. So
Yeah.
I will just bet the river. You don't even have to bet big,
Yeah.
since our targets are like probably a three, which he doesn't even have very often, and then high card hands, which like turned like I don't know, like queen jack, king nine, those type of hands.
I was not
Just
exactly
target, right?
because I was also with the jack. If I have something like 9-7, I just feel way more content in bluffing it. But just because we block these queen jack type of combos that we're trying to target. But yeah, I see your point. I don't hate the bluff. I just why I decided in game to check. But yeah, I'm happy you bring this up with you thinking that the population in the check node. I think that's a very, very good point that you shared there. And this is also what you guys should try to focus a little more on, being a little bit more observant and aware of where people's range is incredibly weak and just go after it and not be so, oh, he could have a four here, right? And he's never folding. He's still gonna have those queen nines, ace five, ace deuce, better flush draws. So there's still a bunch of hands he can fold. Pocket jacks. All right, that was wait, is this the spot? Yeah. All right. Here we go. We can do a first math. I mean, we all hate these spots, right? Let's get it straight. In a freeze out, clear fold. If he jams 100 big blinds, pocket jacks is just not a hand we want to call. Does the dynamic change here? How would you calculate this hand now, considering the bounties? And first, I would like you to share based on the assumption that we don't cover him, which we do, right? We have 88, 49, 94 big blinds to begin with. Effectively, so he covers us. Now let's assume if we cover him slightly, would this change the outcome of the hand? And how can we calculate or consider the value of his bounty?
Yeah, so like in basic bounty strategy, you learn that his bounty compared to his deck size is worth some kind of equity, which you can deduct from the needed equity, right? So if we would need here, let's just say like 45%, then we would deduct some equity for the bounty if we would cover him. And since he has one start stack and one start bounty, we would deduct approximately 5%. So instead of needing 45% equity in the spot, we would need 40% equity in the spot.
Okay.
Like just as an example. And here he has actually like a little bit over starting stack and exactly start bounty. So if we would cover him, we would need approximately 5% less equity. I still think in a bounty this does not cut it. So let's see what your range assumption is. Let's see. In a vanilla, it's a clear fold, and since we actually don't cover him here in reality, we just fold, right?
Yeah.
Probably call off here like queens, ace, king suited, and jack's clear fold. And I don't think like the additional bounty value makes the cut here. Now you can argue for some huge AV points, right? So if we win the hand, double up, we cover the whole table, we can go a little bit more aggressive. And probably then with like a little bit of UJV, you put jacks into the calling range. But it's definitely like either way a close spot.
So it's a close spot for sure. And if I put in the range I put in, I mean, you see it. I would presume like some brain farts. I mean, it's not even a brain fart. Ace 5 suited, right? If he thinks I can code 4-bet bluff there. I think it's a very realistic range. I think queens plus ace king for sure. And then if he opts to 3-bet an ace 5 suited or pocket tens, ace queen suited, he faces the 4-bet. You know, he thinks, he could be bluffing. You know, I'm just gonna jam. If I'm wrong, well, I can still win his bounty. So I think some low frequency tens, low frequency ace queen suited, and low frequency ace 5 suited. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you give him those low frequency combos, I guess jacks is always in.
Yeah.
And versus like the realistic range, jacks, ace, king, it should be close. We can now do like the concrete example here from the calculation. So I would, we need like 41.5% equity here in this real example with the jacks. Given the pot odds, right? So we get like 1.5 to 1. And if we would now deduct the value from the bounty, we would need like 36% here to call off. So versus your given range, Dex is like a snap in get, since we have approximately 40%. But if you would take out now, I don't know, like not the unrealistic, but like the closest bluffs, I guess it will get like much closer here. So just like get rid of the tens, ace 5 and ace queen. And I guess this is like a realistic range, then then it's definitely like a close spot, right? So I think we will print like a little bit.
It's not a close spot. It gets even clearer that it's a fold.
Well, it's like close to exact the equity which you need, right? So you deduct like 5%.
You said we need 45.
No. That's I said before, like with the 45, this was just like some numbers to give you an example on how the concept works. In this specific example here, we need 41% equity, right?
Without
so we get without the bounty.
Yeah.
We get here approximately 1.5 to 1.
Yeah.
So we need like 41% equity. Then we would deduct the 5% of the bounty value, right? So we need 36% equity, approximately, like, right? And
but
so we are
just
in the close
assuming
region.
assuming if we cover him now, right?
Just assuming if we cover him.
Yeah.
We don't cover him. This is a vanilla spot. This is a clear fold, obviously, since we don't cover him. But if we would cover him, then we would need approximately 36% here to call off. And jacks is like very, very close one. I would still opt to fold, since people are probably in those spots still to advance, and you see way more often aces than ace king, for example. You know what I mean? They're just like say, okay, let's rip it in a 4-bet spot, and the ace king offsuit, I don't know, just call, something like that, right? So again, the variance in the holdings you see, it's like very more often the nuts than like the next closest combo. So I would opt to fold here.
I mean, just for everyone to maybe recap what you have been just sharing. If you're new to poker, the way you can calculate the equity in those spots is you take the pot size, right? You have 110,000 in the middle. We have 78,000 more to call. So if we're going to call, then we are going to have a pot of 188,000. We need to invest for this pot size 78,000. So these are the pot odds, 2.4 and basically 1.4 to 1. So that means we need to win every 2.4th time. And if we want to see that in equity, we see 0.41, which is 41.5% equity. So that's the 41%. And now maybe you can share a little bit more on how you got to the 5%, right? Because people that are not familiar with bounty concepts, why would you assume that now the bounty is worth 5%? Again, assuming now we would cover him, right? Why do you deduct 5%? So In a regular freeze out, when there's no bounty in play, we would need 41%, and you can take the power equilab and you can then put him on a range, and you see, well, we don't have 41%. Now in a bounty, you see it gets much closer, that we would only need 36%, and we see we have 36.6%. How do you come to the 5%?
Well, it's a pre-calculated concept. So after doing a lot of studies, you see that there is a certain relationship between the stack size in the tournament and the bounty the player has.
Yeah.
And this relationship between, okay, he has like one starting stack, for example, here in this hand, and one bounty leads, after a lot of calculation, which I've already done in the course for the customers, to equity less needed of 5%. And I've done this for a lot of like stack to bounty relation. So for like 2-star stack to 1-star bounty, or for 5-star bounties to 1-star stack, right? So the bounty and the stack in the tournament, of course, for a lot of players during the course of the tournament changes this relation, and I pre-calculated like all of the equities needed for those specific spots.
Yeah.
So you can easily learn it's just a tabular, and you get like 3 or 4 stable points, which you said. Okay, so for example, for 1-star stack, 1-star bounty, you need 5% less equity. For 1-star stack and 2-star bounties, you need 9% less equity. And in between, it's kind of linear. So you always like have a very good guess how much less equity you need in a spot when you can win a bounty.
Yeah.
And this just comes from the concept I invented in the course. And therefore you can just like see a situation and know, okay, I need roughly 5% less. Okay, I need roughly 10% less. Okay, I need roughly 1% less equity.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I mean, this is something, I'm not going to share everything, but you see it on the right. You get access to a bunch of tables. I don't want to tease or spoiler too much. The bounty power concept that you have developed, where you get tables where you exactly see where at which stage, and given how many bounties are in play, what is the exact equity that will be either mostly decreased when there is a certain bounty in play. So you see, all right, I need 5% equity less, 77% equity less, right? And that's really, really helpful when it comes to studying these spots, and get very familiar. And you basically it's not guessing anymore. You see exactly how much equity you need, and this is of course very helpful. And this is how you can apply it and then study your own bounty spots. All right, so I folded Jax. I mean, since I didn't cover him, I was not feeling very comfortable calling this off here. And as we already said, it's a close. Would you consider overcalling pre? Is this an option for you against the 3-bet, or would you always 4-bet this?
I would mix with this specific hand, I guess. So I think it's fine to play it either way.
Yeah. And I had a plan. For me, in this specific spot, if I 4-bet, I will do very well against his calls. He's going to be calling ace-queen quite often. He's going to be calling 10s and 9s. So against his calling range, I'm doing very well. But against his jamming range, I'm not doing so well. So that's why I think that's the easiest solution in this spot. And to me, the one that makes the most sense. So we get the jam there, which was unfortunate. King 10, that was an interesting hand. 9 deuce deuce. Cutoff calls. I decided to bet relatively big with this combo. Usually on low card boards, you want to do a lot of checking. This is a very particular spot where he can have all the sets, but there aren't really a lot of sets possible, right? Deuces, as one combo, 9s. We do have all the overpairs, which he doesn't. However, it's not the greatest board for our range because we don't really connect with our broadways. So I wouldn't do a lot of c-betting, and I would be very selective with my hands. And I feel like it's also a sport where you want to be a little more polarized. I want to start targeting his, ace jack off, ace queen off, 1 diamond, which he's probably not supposed to fold against this big sizing anyway. I'm not too confident. I have to admit that I'm not sure if this is a good play. So maybe you can enlighten us.
I would say this is perfectly GTO here. So this is a specific specific combo or those kind of corners, like all of those like king highs with a flush draw, king highs with a backdoor flush draw, you definitely want to bomb here.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to check a lot of ace x, and you definitely don't want to check a lot of king, queen, and jack x here.
Yeah.
And then since we go like polarized c betting on the flop, I think we bet approximately like 40% of the times, and then we just bet most of the times big.
Yeah.
And your combo can go either pot or like 2/3 pot. I guess both is fine. So that's good. I would say that's good. Think about like the flatting range of the cutoff, right? He also does not connect very well with the structure. He also has a bunch of ace highs, a bunch of king highs here, and most of them don't contain a heart, since you have the hearts, and
Yeah.
then he has the spades and the clubs, and all those combos are already getting like close to indifferent when you choose a bigger sizing. So I guess
Yeah.
definitely fine to bet here.
All right, the 5, not the card we were hoping for. And since we block some of the hands we would like to fold out, if he has like ace-10 hearts, if he floats with king-queen hearts. So I would mostly continue with like ace-3, ace-4 suited. Probably, I guess it's one of the spots where you just randomly barrel some jack-10s, queen-jacks. It's really hard to have a lot of natural bluffs in the spot, since you also check some flush draws. So you're probably going to pick some very unnatural hands to barrel with. What would be your choice here? Or what would be your plan for the turn? Or would you even consider continuing with this hand?
With this specific combo, I think it's totally fine to check now. I think I barrel here king 10 of diamonds, definitely, but I
Yeah.
would not bet king 10 of hearts.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, as you said, I think like queen jack suited, queen jack offsuit, probably like sometimes king queen offsuit with like a king or queen and diamonds are like good continues.
Yeah.
To just probably blast off on a diamond on the river.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides of that, I don't think we are doing a lot of betting, since we already did bet the flop with
Yeah.
a bigger sizing, so we have to be a little bit more careful, and I guess we check like 60, 70% here.
Yeah.
So this combo should definitely be checked, I guess.
Yeah. Now we're on the river, and my thought here is, well, since this is a card where I will decrease my betting frequency. Why? Because remember, we bet, yes, we still have all the overpairs, but we also bet a bunch of these king 10, jack 10 backdoor flush draw, king queen off, queen jack off with 1 diamond. And we don't want to bluff all of them. We want to start checking, give up some of them. You don't want to continue with all of your bluffs, especially when it's a card that doesn't really improve your range. So now on the river, I of course still gonna have some value. I can value bet pocket eights, I can value bet any 9, I can value bet any overpair. So now I wanted to choose the bluffs that I gave up on the turn that probably are. I'm not gonna have like king 10 clubs, right? I'm not gonna have like jack 10 clubs. So I was thinking, I think king 10 and hearts, making him fold. I'm still gonna have ace 4 diamonds that he checks back, ace 8 diamonds, ace 10 diamonds. He can have like ace queen off, ace and diamonds. So it's pretty good that I don't block ace queen, ace jack. So I think king 10 feels a very natural bet check bet hand to me on the river. Or which hands would you consider? Maybe I'm totally off on the spot.
Yeah, probably just give up this one, since he should. I'm targeting mostly like, I don't know, it's probably not 3-bet ace king offsuits pre-flop, and like the king x hands.
In a bounty, don't you think he's 3-betting ace king?
Yeah, I think this is often a 3-bet, but like from pre-solves, you can also rather flat very often. So I don't know. It's like a close spot. I don't think I hate bluffing here with this combo, but I rather have like my jack 10 suited, my jack 9 suited, my queen 9 suited, those kind of hands.
But jack 9,
well,
queen
probably
9 are
jack 9,
value
jack 9, jack 9, queen 9 are obviously pairs, right? Yeah, then jack 10, queen 10, probably. Probably sometimes. Yeah, that's the only bluffs I can imagine I have here, more or less.
But then it would also be only jack 10 hearts, queen jack, queen 10 and hearts, which are 3 combos, and we still have a bunch of value bets here on the river. So don't you think then the next reasonable hands would be the kind of like king 10s, maybe king 8 suited if you open raise it pre-flop? I mean, I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just like
no. It's
asking
definitely
you
the next.
Which
It's the next hands which we can take, I would say.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't hate it. Right, I probably would have not taken it, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, very weird race by him. Feels
Very
like
weird, yeah.
yeah, a bit of maybe yeah.
I mean, he sometimes just rivet sevens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this one would make sense, and probably like full house with nines.
Yeah.
But besides of that, I mean, it's very hard to find any bluffs here,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes can have like 7-6 in diamonds.
I mean, I would never fold anything better than I would never fold an overpair
nine something,
though.
right?
This is
Yeah.
just a random. It's just his value range is so thin. If he just has a brain fart once in a lifetime, where he's just like, well, I raised my 10-8 in diamonds to get him fold like his, Queen Jack King. I mean, it's not that bad if you think about what kind of hands we're bluffing. If you really bluff your, let's say 10-8 in diamonds or whatever you have, just to get me fold those hands. But yeah, very often it's going to be slow play, sevens, fives, nines. But yeah, of course, nothing we can do. Just very unfortunate. Sizing wise, would you go any smaller? I was actually thinking to go a little bit smaller because again, I'm just trying to target his ace high. Maybe I thought I would also get him to fold sixes, fours sometimes, which he might start hero calling against half pot or 3/4. So, but I wouldn't go over bet, of course.
No, I think the size is fine. I would not go smaller with those kind of combos. Just pot it, right?
Yeah. All right, 10-9-4, multi-way pot, very interesting. And I know you also put a lot of studying into multi-way pots. We open from the cutoff, button calls, big blind calls, 2 overs in the gutter. I, in hindsight, prefer the smaller sizing. This board, though, is a board where big blind won't have as many 2 pairs on the other boards. He's not going to be playing 9-4. He's not going to be playing 10-4. He's going to have the suited 2 pairs, though, but he's definitely lacking some off-suited 2 pairs, which is all right. And then big blind button, yeah, is very likely against our stack size. Never going to have an overpair with bounties in play, which I think really helps me for my overall range. And if I have jacks, if I have queens, I definitely want to start betting bigger here. I'm not going to be c-betting a lot of and of course the ranges changes a bit in PKO. That's why I don't really want to focus. Okay, what would I do in GTO? Because I'm going to be opening much tighter to begin with. I won't open that many offsuited. I'm not going to have like ace 8 off here when 3 players cover me and they can start just ripping on me, even with 40 bigs. Or 3-bet very light against me. I won't open that many suited king x hands. So my open raising range is going to be much tighter. Maybe it goes from like 35% to like 30%. So my range is much tighter to begin with. I will have it more often on this board in a PKO than in a freeze out. And I therefore wanted to have more bigger bets here on this board.
All right. So I think it's totally fine for the cutoff here to play like close to big size only, since we check a lot of the times anyways. Think about like in the multi-way scenario where the big blind is involved and it's cutoff versus button. Usually in a heads-up scenario where you play cutoff versus button, you already check a lot, right? And you check a little bit less since the big blind is involved and there are so many dead combos inside which you want to attack, but you still check a lot, cutoff versus button, since button is in position and you have a lot of range which is not good on a lot of structures.
Yeah.
So he has like a smaller range, and yeah, you have like the nuts in your range and he doesn't, but he connects very well with a lot of structures, and this is included, the 10-9x structure, so we definitely don't want to bet a lot here.
Yeah.
And then we definitely want to bet big if we don't want to bet a lot, right?
Yeah.
So if we check like 80% of the times here and bet 20% of the times, yeah, then we more or less exclusively bet big.
Yeah.
And this is the big sizing for multi-way, so I guess the sizing is fine. And it's also one of the combos which is definitely good to bet here. So like the king queens, the king jacks, those are the hands which I want to bet here. And then obviously like pairs like king 10, queen 10,
Yeah.
queens to aces.
I mean, it's
Like,
also a very dynamic board, right? Just like even with aces, you don't really want to see a queen, you don't really want to see a jack, you don't really want to see an 8, you don't really want to see a 10. Even a king is not so sexy. So it's just
yeah,
like
those hands you definitely want to protect.
yeah,
Like queens to
you
aces, you want to
just
protect
the
here.
only hands that want to bet small are basically tens, nines, and then queen jack where you can float a raise and not face a jam, right?
Yeah, tens,
So
tens, nines, and then like weakish tens, right? Your
yeah,
10-8 suited,
exactly,
your
yeah,
Jack 10 suited kind of hands. You want to bet
yeah,
probably small, but the rest you just want to bet
yeah.
big.
King Queen now, I do expect a lot of floats, and this of course pretty good that people are gonna be chasing, and that's the powerful part of having a strong range on this board. That now, in my opinion, betting wouldn't make a lot of sense. We make him forward Queen 8. We might make him forward Queen Jack now. That way, he doesn't have a club. So I would do very poorly against this calling range, but I do very well when it goes check check here. So this is something where I heavily focus on, that I want to practice my mind on, okay, with what kind of action, in what kind of equity position do I put myself? So now imagine we get called. Imagine what your equity is like. You're going to run into a lot of 9x, 10x, and you just purely, very often, just draw to the jack and sometimes to the queen and king. If it goes check, check, though, I can even sometimes decide to bluff catch on a blank river. I mean, he's going to have all the 7-8s, he's going to have all the jack 8s, some jack 7s, queen jacks that very likely going to be bluffing. So I might even have not the worst bluff catcher, right? So maybe an ace deuce would be even better. But again, like check, check doesn't mean even if you don't improve, the hand is over. But if you hit your queen, he's going to be bluffing into you. If you hit your king, he's going to be bluffing into you. So yeah, just I didn't see a lot of reasons for betting. I don't think he's going to have a lot of. He shouldn't have a lot of 4x on this board that peels on the flop against the big sizing. So yeah, we're betting a lot into 9x and 10x here and basically make him fold all the hands we have dominated anyway.
Yeah, like in theory, you should have all 4x, I guess, when the button folds. But
Okay.
in reality, I think people are just folding on a dynamic board. So, yeah, I guess it's a good check back. The 9 obviously is a horrible card. I would say yes, like all the 9x defended since
Yeah.
an offsuit structure.
Yeah.
So, and since he should raise most of the times his good 10x, like his continuing range against a big size on the flop is just mostly a 9, honestly.
Yeah.
And then this is like a horrible turn card. And yeah, river is tricky.
Do you think it's tricky?
I don't know. It's
I
it's
mean,
it's
with this
it's it's
sizing, he could
it's
bet
it's
king
too
jack,
cheap.
right?
Yeah. It's definitely too cheap to
Yeah.
fold. If he
Yeah.
would go bigger, then you're sitting there with your
Yeah.
pants down.
Yeah. I mean, he should go bigger because he still has a lot of bluffs, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
has 16 combos of 7 8. Same for Jack 8. Some Queen 8. Some, if he has Jack 7 in hearts. I mean, he's probably peeling those. So we talk about like already close to 40, 45 bluff combos, right? And the way you can also practice this is if you have a hard time practicing this, is you can just put in the board. I'm a big fan of Power Equilab to very often just revisit the fundamentals, because this is exactly what you need to do in game to just estimate how many combinations someone can have. And if we you have a good nice function here to use the card. I mean, there's certainly also some other tools, but you should not just brain deadly study solvers and their outputs, because at the end of the day you need to be able to apply it, you need to understand the basic math. And if you look at here 7 8, right, and it's very nice the function here that you see how many combos he can have. So if we just purely put him on, I mean, maybe let's put him a few combinations of like 7 6 and hearts or whatever in here. Then the Jack 8s, let's say Jack 7. I mean, we can also put in the suits here. We say clubs, hearts, and spades for the Jack 7s. Am I missing something? Ah, yeah, Queen 8 suited.
Queen 8, 8 6.
Yeah, some 8 something like this. And then you can count the combinations, and we see we're around 40, 42 possible hands. And then what kind of value hands? I mean, let's put in all the suited 9x, 9 8, 9 7. Against some, King Jack for sure, of course, is probably value betting. King Jack, some King Queens, probably even a little bit more. And then he's gonna have the Queen Jacks. So yeah, you can even group this, so you can give it a color, so you can then really see the ratio between value and bluffs, right? So this is a very powerful way of practicing. We see with the orange hands here, group 1, we see we have 54 potential bluffs versus 37 value hands. I mean, he can still have a few
He
more.
can still have like
yeah,
Jack 9 suited, Jack 9
10-9,
offsuit, Queen 9
9.
offsuit,
Let's go further like this.
King 8 offsuit, King 9 offsuit. Those
Yeah.
kind of hands, right? Yeah.
So we see now we have 73, but again, we get such a great price that he probably needs like more than 100 value hands. So this is still not close enough. I mean, he has how many value bets in total? Yeah, it's 73 hands. Why is it? Yeah, because we have frequencies for the king, jack, and king, queen. I was wondering why is it 73.2. So basically, 73 value hands versus 53. And is anything missing here? Because
No.
he's sometimes trapping. Like if he has king 9, he might have some slow plays, some checks. He might also not always be bluffing. This is something that's, of course, something we should also need to consider. Maybe he's a bit hesitant here with some of the bluffs.
Yeah, but he should not be. You can clearly see it, right? He has so much value that he essentially, first of all, has to go big here on the river, and second of all, has to take like all of the bluffs he can find. If you assume that he does not have a lot of 4x, which is realistic, I guess. So, like size up the river and essentially take all bluffs you have is the only option.
So, and then again, we see we have a pot of 22 big blinds. If we call and win, we win 29 big blinds. We need to invest 7 big blinds, which basically means we need 24% equity. So this is something where you can also, by the way, something I want to show you. We have a very nice wallpaper here in our Discord, where you can see if we face a bet of, what was it, half pot, we need around 25% equity. I mean, he is betting around half pot here. So yeah, we need 25% equity, and you see we get 35. So we have a fist pump snap call. I mean, you will never be 100% accurate, because you can't really put him 100% on the range, but this kind of estimation will guide you in the right direction. This is how it works in poker. It's a very powerful way of estimating and also practicing putting people on ranges. All right. What would be the sizing we would start consider folding? I mean, if he starts betting pot, even if he starts betting pot, we need 33.
We need 33%, yeah. But we gave him like a good estimation, I guess, like overall good estimation for a thinking player, and then we would like puke call, but we would not love it.
Yeah.
And against like non-regs, I guess they underbluff those spots like quite frequently. So then we like really hate the spots. Probably start folding against pot-ish, even like a little bit smaller than pot. It's like way too often trips and. But yeah, versus the sizing, what can we do? We just call, right?
Yeah.
And he actually has a 4. So, and he did bluff. Which
I'm not sure if I'm not really sure. I mean, on this board, especially if you consider a bit of PKO ranges and assuming we have a little bit of a stronger range, because we're not going to be betting those ace 5 clubs type of hands or ace deuce clubs. I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of the flop call, to be honest. I mean, okay, against me, when people think I might be a little more aggressive, definitely bad against population. I think that's a very, very bad call against population if they start blasting it with a big sizing on this flop multi-way. But I think even against a good player, it's just a bad call, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a GTO call fine. Will not print like anything, but it's fine. I also think it's fine.
I'm definitely under bluffing multi-way pots as well. Like, I just think I will have it more often than I will have a bluff. Because if you look into some multi-way PKO post-flop spots, you will see some weird bluffs that I think most people are not aware of. Or picking some combos like under pairs or, ace 3 clubs. Most people they take the most natural bluffs, maybe some backdoor kind of equity hands. But yeah, Just my experience. All right, let's move on. Ace-9 suited. We call. Face C-bet. I don't hate raising against the button range, but I think Ace-9 more often call. I would raise Ace-10 and better quite often. I mean, Ace-10 is probably the best ace I have. Check, check. We value bet river. We still have a bunch of Queen-10s, King-10s. Bit of bigger sizing for that reason. And he decides to fold. I don't think that's so spectacular. I mean, you could argue about the flop raise and river sizing. Anything that you think is worth noting?
No, I think it's pretty standard. Pretty standard play. I think your hand definitely can value raise, but
yeah,
we did not go the aggressive route, which is also fine.
He c-bets from under the gun. I decided, yeah, very drawy board. We can get value from worth. He can have a bunch of draws. Would you call? Would you raise as well?
Yes.
Okay. No, yes. That's the German way of analyzing a hand. You love to see it. I mean, we also want to show you as many hands as possible. And since Nico's talking all the time, I need to speed it up a little bit. Just kidding. All right. That was actually an interesting spot. I think I messed up the river. But very interesting to see what you have to say. I mean, flop, yeah. Not going to bet here, of course. Multi-way. All in path is probably aware that he should also be checking a lot on this texture 3-way with an under the gun range. I mean, this is probably one of the worst boards for an under the gun range against the cutoff and button flatting range. I mean, probably worse if the big blind comes along, but yeah, you just play against two ranges that have the 7-8 suited fully in their range, all the sets. I mean, even with aces, you don't really want to start building a pot here. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
Okay.
That's what I would also say.
All right. Then he bets the turn big. My thoughts, I would never raise here. I wouldn't hate it. I think we could, but I just feel like it's really hard to get a lot of value from this hand by raising. And yeah, that's why I just decided to call. I mean, all in path is not going to go broke with 10s here if I raise and jam the river. So I need to pot control a little bit. And he checks. What would you? But I'm interested to see what you would do on the river. Enlighten us, Nico.
Yeah, I mean, like we have sufficient flush draws which break on the river.
Yeah.
We probably don't have so many straights since we would not continue so many 7x.
Maybe just
on the turn,
right?
And we would also have bet bunch of those hands already on the flop, like our 10-7 suited, probably like sometimes King-7 suited, Ace-7 suited type of hands. We definitely bet 9-7 suited on the flop.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have so many straights, but we have
a lot of
busted flush draws, right? So we need some value if we want to start bluffing, and we don't have much more than our set of 3s, actually. I mean, we probably check sometimes our pocket 9s here on the flop. Sometimes we check our, like, I don't know, like 6s. But yeah, it's just not much value which I can find, which can like sufficiently bet the river. So if we want to bluff here, which I definitely want, then I need to put in 3s in there, and since we don't bet that often the river, we just have to pot it, I guess. So I pot. Hope to get heroes from like river 2-pair, flop 2-pair.
Overpairs.
Yeah, I guess overpairs will have a hard time. First of all, just calling pre-flop, and then I guess I just.
I mean, like, what means calling pre-flop? He's the open raiser.
Yeah. You're right, but yeah.
I mean, just to illustrate you guys, we have 9 busted flush draws, but again, if we compare that with our value hands, it's 3s, it's probably 7s and 4s, right? And 8s. And even 8s we start betting, and 7s we also might start stabbing. So it's not like, the thing is we never bet 3s, but we sometimes bet 7s and 8s on the flop. We never bet 4s and 3s, so we definitely have those in our range. I mean, I would call 4s on the turn. I would call 4s on the turn. We have an open and straight draw. And we're still good against the spectral flush draws. Yeah, we have 13 value combos and 9 bluffs, which you can see that, yeah, it's pretty dicey.
Yeah, we definitely have to get rid of some of the bluffs. Then probably just get rid of then I don't know, like Queen 10 suited type of hands. I don't know. Right. Probably wanna unblock aces. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a spot where we don't have a lot of value.
Yeah.
Still wanna bluff, so I would definitely put in threes into my value range, and yeah.
But
if he has a set, then he has a set, right?
The
What can he
weakest
do?
value bet, right?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, this is a spot, of course, if you think people are going to start folding a lot against pot, but that's what I thought, that I perceived have a lot of busted flush draws. And I don't have a lot of value combinations. So yeah, that's where, I mean, we could have some 5s and 6s and that we check on the flop, but yeah, we're gonna start betting those a lot of the time. So that was a bit of an unfortunate. I'm surprised. I was really not sure if the pot bet is that fine. It's a bit of a tricky board texture that you and run out also in multi-way that you don't study a lot, and of course you try to make the best decision based on what you've seen, what you have learned from other spots, and draw conclusions and apply this for this respective spot. So yeah, I was not really sure. Aces, let's go. Yeah, I just think against 200 gun ranges, we just jam this.
We just rip it.
Yeah. Fortunately, that's very interesting. I mean, technically, right, if we do the math, they have to call a lot. And if you have an under gun open raising, and like if this guy sits on a pocket pair or suited hand, intuitively, I mean, we only have half of the starting stack.
It's still 27 BB, and yes, they need like 11% less equity.
So now, why is it 11% less now? Can you maybe just roughly estimate?
You have half of a starting stack now.
Yeah.
Still a start bounty.
Okay.
So yep, you would have a bounty power, like we call it in the course, of 2, and this connects to equity less needed of approximately 11%.
Yeah.
So you need approximately 11% less equity. But yeah, I would say like pairs, especially like flatted pairs from the middle position are like always in. And then they have like those natural folds. I don't know, like king, queen offsuit type of hands, which are just performing pretty poorly against the 27 BB rejamming range of the big blind, which is rather strong against an EP range. So they definitely have to have some folds here. It's not like they have to call all of the opening range here.
So they need, without the bounty, 44% equity, roughly like 43.75. Now, if we consider the bounty drop that you just mentioned, then they would need
like 32% approximately,
33%, right? So what would be our jamming range? Again, if you're in smart aces guy or Henvis spot here, I mean, Henvis need to consider that he might get overcalled, very unlikely, but just assuming it's just a call spot, I would probably be jamming something like this: 7s plus, ace 10 suited, ace jack off. Not really sure. I think
you would jam 7s here in a PKO. Would not. Already with 8s, I feel not so great.
Yeah.
Since I think I will be called very often, right?
Yeah.
And
but that's the point. You're probably also gonna call it by 6s and 5s here, and all the
but that's best case scenario against EP range, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Let's leave it in.
Okay.
Just for the sake of whatever. I don't even know. So you have a very nice tool here, where you can basically calculate the minimum equity you need. So we say we want to have at least 34% equity, and then basically it gives us a range. Wait. Oh, the board. Let's take out the board. I was like, okay, that looks weird. So yeah, this would be basically the hands that would be able to call off against our range. So if MP flats queen jack queen 10 suited, he has to call off. Again, this is because our bounty now, since it's only 45,000 chips, half of the starting stack, 100,000, and the bounty is worth roughly at the beginning between 25 and 30% of the starting stack, you already see that there's a significant amount of dead money in the middle. Speaking about our bounty in terms of the chips, if you break it down in chips, And this is something you also explain in the course with charts, with overviews, where you exactly explain, all right, at this stage of the tournament, the bounty is worth like this, and this is how you can use it, this is how you can apply it, this is how you can exactly determine the value of the bounties. And now in this stage, as you just said, it's around 11%. So yeah, this would be the hands that have the required 33% equity against our range. And this is a spot where you have to gamble with King Jack suited, right? Or pocket sevens or an ace 10 suited, right? Just these kind of high variance spots you have to take. Some people might say, well, I want to wait for better spots. Maybe something you want to share here in terms of when people are still a little bit hesitant and tight in calling off wider against bounties, maybe from a more rational and logical standpoint, anything that where you can share a tip that people are also able to loosen up, and why it's worth also to go for these for my bounty, for this bounty here, even though it's just a starting bounty.
Well, it's just a starting bounty in the early stage of the tournament, which is a lot since everyone has a starting bounty, right?
Yeah.
So it's just pure math. The stack is worth some dollars, and the bounty is obviously also worth some dollars. In this case here, it's $125.
Yeah.
And if you need to invest a certain amount of your chip stack, which is XY dollars, and you can win XY dollars in chips plus a bounty, then at some point you just come into the sweet spot where you have to call your combination. If you have, like, as a smart guy, I had like ace 8 suited here, and the big blind is capable of jamming wide enough, which Ben definitely is, right? Some people will just have like nuts here. They call their, I don't know, like even nines and probably tens, and rip like jacks plus an ace king, and then you obviously have to fold ace 8. So it's obviously a little bit dependent on the BB jamming range here, not just blindly okay, he has like a bounty to win and only half a starting stack, I can call off everything. You have to be aware that the range obviously determines what you can call off. But versus Ben, you cannot fold your ace 8, ace 9 suited here.
I wouldn't jam. No, but why versus me? Like I would not jam wider than ace 10. Like this would be my the
yeah, I know, but like enough people are not even jamming. I would say like probably like nines here or like ace 10 suited type of hands.
Yeah, but even against that range that I'm jamming, ace 8 suited is a clear fold. Like we see that ace 8 suited is just terrible to call.
Close-ish.
No, you need like 33 point something, 33.5. It has 31.8. Like, I mean, why would you? This is 1.5% less in equity you have. I just don't think we should ever call this. Not even against Ben. I'm not
even against Ben. No, you're right. I probably messed up here the equity a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Just okay. All right, let's move on.
I thought we should have a little bit under 30, which is not the case, right?
Yeah,
it's like a little bit over 30. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, ace jack suited, very similar spot. Even better now. It's later positions. We from the small blind, we get caught by worse. Ace jack suited. Definitely just want to jam this.
We can rip it.
Yeah, we could even squeeze. Maybe some people level themselves into jamming something, and we don't do so poorly against the calling range. It goes in against ace queen anyway. I don't hate squeezing if you have an aggressive image. But yeah. We make the flash, which is good, and we double up. Ace 5 off here. Actually, now we cover. I think I missed some opening spots. I think this is when we cover the blinds, we can definitely start opening this. Depends a bit on the button, how much he's aware of the situation, or how much he punishes you. But per default, I would open this. Queen 9 off. This is an interesting spot. I mean, path is probably going to be open really wide. Because he covers him. Or he covers also, I mean, the small is also super short. And these are the scenarios where, you sit there with your 50, 60 big blinds and you probably have to get in some really, really weird hands. Just out of the blue, what would be the range that you would jam here?
Out of blue, you have like a lot of medium suited ace X, so you definitely want to block the calling range here. So you have like a blocker spot in terms of jamming. Meanwhile, all in path is just an equity call spot if we jam, right? So we definitely want to block. Out of economos, all in path can call as nuts, right? Yeah. So you will have suited aces. You probably have hands like king queen suited, king jack suited inside those type of hands, but it's not like crazy, right? Since
Puff can overcall a lot, right? I mean, 2 bounties in the middle. We will have some wider hands as well. I mean, he's probably also going to be jamming pretty wide, right? I mean, if he sits on ace-7 off, I think he's just ripping it. I mean, Puff is probably going to be opening like jack-2 suited and shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how wide people are adjusting on those spots. I think you should not overdo it, since like the probability of the 15 BB stack getting it in there is still like not ultra high, right?
Yeah.
He has to have like something, and the small blind has to have like something. He's not getting in with like, I don't know, like 9-10 suited kind of hand, right? So like the reason to widen up your range when you regard like 15 BB plus stacks, it's there, but it's not as strong as you might think. Since the probability of people behind you are getting it in is just like still small.
Yeah.
So
all right, interesting. So what would be your range roughly? I mean, of course, you will never be perfect, right? And it's just about having some sort of good orientation of what we should jam here.
If I think Olympiath is like increasing its range by a huge margin, right? Then I definitely want to leverage on the fold equity here for the 2.5 BB in the middle, and probably just take like everything which is not like ace-4 suited and below as suited ace, and then probably like it's tough. Ace-10, ace-jack, king-queen, king-jack.
What about pairs?
Pairs, well, in those kind of situation, like close to any pair is good, besides like deuces and threes, since they will flip a lot even against heads-up ranges, and something you don't want to do. But I don't know, like 4s, 5s, 6s sound like very appealing to me. If he has like not the standard, I don't know, like 35% opening range, but all of a sudden like, I don't know, like 55% opening range, then it like really prints, right? And you can probably put in like even more combos. But it's just guessing. I don't know how he will adjust, or if he even will adjust to this situation.
I mean, this is also something you share in the course, how you can then practice this with, hey, Hold'em Rhesus calculator. Something not we're going to do here, because it takes a little bit of time to enter all the stacks, the payouts, if you want to consider a bit of ICM as well. And then you can put in a scenario, all in Puff, you put him on a range, you put a roof 400 on a jamming range, and then you can see with the influence of bounty exactly what you're supposed to ISO jam here. But yeah, I believe it's something, it's going to be something similar like this. I mean, we both have been running a lot of these PKO spots, and yeah, I also feel, I mean, again, we can't just go, even though these both ranges very wide, the problem is just this all-in path can overcall a lot of hands, even though we're jamming 56 big blinds, since they're going to be 2 bounties in the middle, right? It's like, there's going to be 140,000 chips in the middle, and like our both bounties are probably worth around, Pi mal down, we would say in German, roughly 30,000 each, right? It's like 30%.
What do you think the button is jamming here for? Like, so first of all, what do you think how much he's opening from the cutoff here?
I think from the cutoff he's at least opening 40%, probably more like 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what do you think then the button is jamming here? I think
the button is jamming something like ace-5 suited and better, king-queen suited, king-10 suited, king-jack off, ace-7 off. Not the lowest pairs, because you don't have fold equity, like 4s and plus.
Yeah, probably 4s, probably 5s, right?
Yeah, so something like this, I would say. I would assume. I mean, this is what I would jam. People are probably, I feel like in a lot of these spots, like, you have to be quite aggressive, quite loose, and just adjust against a very wide cutoff open range. But then somehow they always have ace-queen or ace-king in the spot. Yeah, maybe it's more like something like this, that what people are going to be jamming here. I don't know.
Yeah, against this range, it's like approximately, I would say, like, I don't know, like ace-10 offsuit plus, like probably like ace-5 suited plus.
Yeah.
Probably all pairs, since pairs are like pretty strong multi-way, and path is again, like incentivized to call then like a lot of equity combos, which are like then king-10s and queen-jack suited and queen-10 suits, all those kind of hands, right?
Yeah.
And but he still should be folding like 2/3 of the times if he's opening like 45 to 50%, like easily. So there's a lot of fold equity and chips to be gained. Plus we have like decent equity. Queen 9 is obviously like an easy fold, but yeah, one of those like probably wide range interesting spots. If he's only opening 35% here, then you cry with your wider ranges, since you will get called way more often, like proportional wise, right?
The next hand pocket eights was quite interesting. I mean, we could flat. I decided to 3-bet this and also stack off if he jams. I just think that the average rack is quite aggressive. Like, his ranges are now, again, really wide. Big button bounty is easy to grab here. He's quite short, given that still the early stage of the tournament. So yeah, I think it's one of these spots where most racks probably perceive me to be very aggressive. And yeah, I just plan was to 3-bet, and then if he jams, I would call it. I just expect if people have ace-4, ace-5 suited, they would just jam it, be relatively aggressive in this spot. We could 3-bet a little bigger, but again, I think in PKOs in general, also on the ICM pressure, when big stakes opens, they're just gonna have a lot more like queen 7 offs and maybe a king deuce suited and more off suited aces and queen 8 offs and jack 5 suited, and just the smaller sizing is I think a little more suitable against this very wide range, that you just attack those hands. And he's also going to fold to 19k as much as he would do against 22k. Just something the way I do it. And yeah, do you think 8 is a little bit of an overplay to 3-bet call this year, or would you say?
I would say you have to be very certain people are like regarding the situation correctly. Multi-tabling, it's probably a Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you think he's
Fair
like really
enough,
aware of the situation, then I think it's good. But most of the times, like in those spots, people are just playing too honest, quote unquote, because they multi-table and don't like assess the situation correctly.
Yeah. I didn't like my postal blind. I think I should just bet we unblock kings. I don't know why I checked. Maybe I want to play tricky or for whatever bullshit reasons. Especially on the turn. Now double flush draws. He can have lots of like check back flush draws, backdoor flush draws. If he has queen jack and diamonds, he's folding anyway. So I think I would just 25k, 30k. I really didn't like this line here at all. Ace 10 suited. Yeah, this is probably a board button versus big blind where we also want to do a lot of checking back. We're not going to have a lot of pairs. It's pretty good for the big blind. I think you get away with a lot of c-betting though. People are not aggressive enough on these boards. I'm not sure what I do against Egyptian. Yeah, I think just 25% pot will just be very powerful against population. Even though we probably want to be checking back a lot of these like better ace highs and get
versus Patrick in like particular, I would just check a little bit more since he is on the very, very aggressive side. So
is he? He's just punting against me.
Yeah, that's probably true. But if he sees a BB raise possibility against a button, you'll usually take it, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
That's a good hand.
Pocket queens. I mean, once again, we would probably interesting rejam by him for like 28 bigs. I mean, he does have fold equity. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't like it. Like so those are the kind of hands you essentially like never want to rejam.
Okay.
Since you unblock the folding range and you're not totally crushed, but you're like very, very much behind against the calling range, and the calling range is still sufficiently wide since you have only 2/3 of a starting stack here, so people need approximately 7% less equity here to call off. So you don't want to sit there with a 10 high and then heads up all in spots. Honestly, it's just like not a good pick of range. You want to just rip blockers here if you want to rip wider, right?
Like an S2 suited or
something like if you wanna rip wider because you think the guy's opening too wide, then you want to have blockers and not
King 6 suited powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Makes sense. Then I'm gonna be also paying a little more attention to that. So what would be the kind of range you would be? You just mentioned, all right, around 7% less equity. So let's just do quickly the math. We have 80k in the middle. If we call it off, we would have to call 68k, 67k, whatever. So we need around 44% equity, 44.6. You mentioned 7% less equity because of the bounty, so we would need 37% equity. Of course, we have a player behind, and we do need to consider this. But for now, just so I have an orientation, let's put him. I think he's probably people are jamming a range like this here in this spot.
Yeah, we'll definitely take out aces and kings here, button
yeah.
versus big blind. People are
Yeah.
just like not balanced.
Yeah.
I guess like from a big blind, you see this very often that they just rip it, but
Yeah.
from the button, I would like consider close to never.
Yeah. Maybe some of these hands here, like, we see something like this, and then what did I say? How much do we need?
37. Yeah.
So 37. Oops. But again, this is like the minimum equity, but we do need to consider that all-in path can overcall, right?
So we get rid of all of those like offsuited, especially offsuited hands, right?
Yeah.
Multi-way hands are not that bad, but since we are still like in a rejam spot, we rather have blockers than just like raw multi-way equity.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Something like this looks. You basically the way what I've seen is when you have one player left to act. Again, this is a spot you want to calculate in HRC. The manual calculation, you would need to also calculate then the side pot, right, and everything. So
yeah, also the toughest thing in those like multi-way all-in scenarios where we don't close the action is still like blockers or card removal, right?
Yeah.
So he opens, someone jams, you rejam, and by hand like counting. Okay, if he has king, then the guy on the button has like less king X, and we have like. It's like pretty tough to calculate it accurately. So you definitely need like a solving tool for that kind of stuff where you don't close the action.
Yeah.
But like from a rough estimation, I guess that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good range. 7s plus. I mean, even ace 5. I would probably even just skip all of these. You will see that then still having a player left to act will tremendously impact. Would you say that maybe like cutting out the bottom 33 to 50% of your range is a somewhat reasonable, safe to say, assumption to get a good idea what you're supposed to call here?
Yeah, I would say that's fine, and you would start with like all of the offsuited combos, and then get rid of like the more disconnected suited hands, because connected suited hands will have good raw multi-way equity still. So. I'd rather rip here Jack 10 suited and King 10 suited, honestly. But should be marginal anyways, I would say.
Okay. All right, let's do one more spot. 10-8 suited here. Decided to flat. I don't hate 3-betting now. We cover him. He's probably opening really wide. I think it's a fine 3-bet. Decided to call. Fold the flop. I think that's pretty straightforward. Let's maybe wrap it up with pocket kings. Do we get some? No. I mean, button cutoff, you're going to have some very small sizings on these boards where he's going to have missed a lot of the times. I think I didn't know this guy. I think this is just a spot where I should probably just bet big and don't worry too much about balancing. Maybe I had a read that he's very aggressive, a lot of raising, and that he feels triggered. Then of course it makes some sense. I mean, it worked out well here, and I think kings is probably one of the combos you want to 3-bet on the flop. You unblock a lot of queen X. So yeah, I just go. Don't really think he's raising 6-5, 4-5, queen 5. 10 is not ideal, but he's still gonna have like queen jacks, and there's 28 big blinds only left, and re-rip it. Would you play it different on any street?
On the flop, readless, I would play different, but
what would you do different on the flop?
Yeah, I would bet bigger.
Okay.
Just like bigger. You definitely did induce nicely here. Besides of that, it's just, I think, straightforward bet all in.
Yeah. Would you also jam the river? I mean, given on this run out after we 3-bet the flop.
But still, the spades are breaking out, and all kinds of like catched up one pair type of hands, or like hero call. I don't know. Even I can imagine it had like 4-7 suited or whatever, right? So this guy seems to be like on the splashy aggressive side. So if everything from his perspective, which can free bet the flop and is not value bricks, then
Yeah.
he probably can level himself into a quote unquote
Yeah.
wider hero call, and he gets a really good price. So I guess just like straight rip here.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
hope
Yeah,
hope he calls.
sometimes I want to make sure, of course, that I'm not getting too thin with my value bets. I mean, it's massive action, right? Bet, re-raise, re-raise, or bet raise, re-raise, bet turn, jam river. So we very often. But I also think that on the turn, since the board gets so drawy, if he is on a queen 4, 6-4 type of hand slow play, that he probably just wants to jam it because there are going to be some action catalysts on the river, right? Any
Yeah.
3, any 7, any 8, any spade, where then it goes check check. So I do see a lot of jams on the turn. So I'm very confident he's not gonna have like queen 6, queen 4, 4-6 pocket fours, and he's more often gonna have queen jack, king queen, maybe ace queen. I mean, we're quite deep pre-flop. You can't preclude that. Queen 9, queen 8s, queen 7s possible. So, or you never know, 6, 7. So I've seen crazy. He could have ace 10 in spades, and put us on king 7 clubs or whatever. I mean, what are our bluff 3 bets? I guess like an overcard with king 3, king 5, king 7, king 8 clubs type of hands. I mean, you don't do a lot of 3 bet. I mean, guesses since the pot is so small, you're probably going to have some 3 bets. But these are the first hands that would come to my mind that I can see 3 betting. Maybe king 10 clubs.
Yeah, it's definitely not much.
Yeah.
Right. So
I would guess king 10 clubs is calling, and then something like king 7, making him fold something like already folding out king 10 with king and spades, you start folding out some better king eights, you cleaning your outs that the king is live. Can imagine.
yeah, maybe you also go just like, I don't know, like take ace 3, ace 2s,
yeah.
randomish, right?
Yeah.
Then you probably sometimes have like the occasional ace jack offsuit type of hand. So
all right, Nico, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining here today. It was a pleasure, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. We might do part 2 as well to then dive deeper. But you see, it's a bunch of hands, and especially Pico. There's so much to discuss, and we really wanted to show you the difference between PKOs and non-PKO tournaments. So yeah, these tournaments are of course getting more and more popular. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Nico, thank you so much for joining.
thanks for having me.
If you are interested in the sale, then check out everything in the description. We're running a massive sale right now, $500 off. So go check it out. And there's a lot to find in the course. Nico, bye-bye. Good luck at the tables. Thank you again for joining.